Fantasy Freaks and Geeks. What's going on? James Coe here with you. Oh man, so much has happened as we are recording here on this Tuesday night. A beautiful day of activity in the fantasy football world. In the real NFL world, man, it has been a lot of fun dissecting all of these football moves. We're going to start with the big trade. Of course, Diontae Johnson traded to Baltimore. And let's talk about the fantasy impact here for Diontae Johnson and really for Zay Flowers. Look, it's obviously going to be great for Lamar. I mean, it's nothing but freaking rocket ship emojis for Lamar. We know that. But Diontae and Zay Flowers, they are very different players. Of that, make no mistake. But they work in similar areas of the field. And that kind of has me a little bit concerned, right? They're both really good, I think, in the intermediate areas of the football field. Flowers, obviously, much better after the catch. Diontae's one of the worst after the catch receivers in the NFL. Okay. But that being said, Diontae, I think, is a much better crispy route runner. As a matter of fact, this is the best route runner that Lamar has had in his career. I don't think there's really a question of that. Diontae, the best route runner that he has had in his career. And let me just say this. This is the best group of pass catchers that Lamar has had ever in his career by a wide margin. I mean, Diontae Johnson, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman with Mark Andrews, with Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry. Oh my goodness. Stacked offense. Absolutely stacked offense. These guys are going to score a bunch of points. Okay, but from a fantasy perspective, what are we looking at here with DJ, right? In the 5 games with Dalton, he averaged 9.2 targets, 5 receptions, 64.6 yards with 3 touchdowns in those 5 games. He was on pace for a solid 1,000-plus yard season, solid 80-plus reception season, and man, an easy 7 to 10 touchdown season as well. All right, meanwhile, he goes from Carolina. He goes to Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is bottom 10 in pass attempts per game. They're averaging less than 30 attempts per game. Let me just break this down for you. Between Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Andrews, and Likely, that's about roughly, you combine that all up, that's roughly 20 targets per game. Now, we got about 10 left here. Let's say all the randoms. We cut their targets in half. That's aggressive, by the way. So now we're down to 5. So that leaves about 5 targets here for Diontae Johnson. Well, let's say that Lamar wants to throw it just a little bit more because he's got a new toy in the shed, right? Okay, so now we're going to, throw it maybe an extra pass attempt per game? No guarantees there, by the way. No guarantees there. But okay, now we're looking at 6 targets per game for Diontae. Zay Flowers, by the way, who is still going to be, I think, the number 1 pass catcher on this offense, is only averaging 7.6 targets per game, right? So I feel like a 6 target per game projection for Diontae Johnson not only feels fair, I feel like that might be a little bit aggressive. Otherwise, Zay Flowers, his number needs to come down. But again, it's a balancing act here. I think no matter what we're looking at in regards to Baltimore's pass catchers, for sure, we are looking at more volatility when we're talking about Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and now Diontae Johnson, and of course, Mark Andrews as well. But I mean, if we go down to 6 from 9.2, I mean, we've cut Diontae Johnson target totals by about 35%. That's tough. He goes from a rock solid wide receiver 2 to like a low end wide receiver 2, more like a wide receiver 3. I mean, 6 targets a game that's not very much, right? So that is, I think, what would be a fair projection for Diontae Johnson. And man, I tell you what, this probably just kills it for Rashad Bateman. Bateman's had a little bit of a resurgence, guys. 11 plus PPR points in 4 of his last 6 games. Now, I get it. He plays a little bit of a different role. He could play the outside X. He could play flanker, but he's their downfield guy. Diontae Johnson, he's obviously going to do some of the big boy routes, but I don't think he's really a downfield player, right? Like I said, he's going to live and eat and feast in that 10 to 15 yard range, which also is an area where Mark Andrews wants to live, an area where Zay Flowers wants to live. But I just think it's going to be a super volatile offense in regards to the pass catchers. All of this is just, I mean, it's coming up roses for Lamar. No question about it. But for Diontae and Zay Flowers, I think there's some more volatility. I think that Zay will still be the clear-cut number one, and let's just see if it ends up being more touchdown opportunities for Mark Andrews, who already, as we know, is an extremely volatile fantasy asset as we sit here today in 2024. All right, we go back to Carolina, right? It's a big boost for Xavier Legette in terms of target share, although I think it's very fair to say this is a downgrade in terms of optimal role for Xavier Legette. I think Legette's his best role would be to be like this power slot flanker type of player. And yeah, you could play some X2, of course, He's a guy that can win you downfield because of just straight physical play strength, right? But I don't think you want him lining up out there every single snap. And yet, when you look at the roster construction, I kind of sort of think that's where they're going to force him to be because guys, they ain't got too many X receivers. You know what I'm saying? They don't got too many guys that can go kick it outside and beat man-to-man coverage. Shoot, I don't think Xavier Legette can beat man-to-man coverage. But you look at an older, aging, slightly injured now, Adam Thielen, right? You look at Jalen Coker. We like Jalen Coker. We like Jalen Coker a lot. Very interesting deep sleeper. But his role is, again, more of this slot receiver, flanker type of guy. He just doesn't have the short area burst or quickness to win on the outside. Legette does have that, but technique is a little lacking right now for the rookie. You know what I mean? I like Legette too. I mean, shoot, if you listen to anything I said, I love Legette. Love Legette. Great in contested catch. And again, he can win you downfield, but he's got to use some play strength. He's not going to use that much technique. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's a boost in targets for Xavier Legette. And so maybe that ends up being a good thing for him. The last time out, and this was his, his last game played, it was without Diontae Johnson, obviously, who was quote unquote injured, using some air quotes here. I think they were just prepping him for this trade. But his last time out, Legette saw 7 targets, 4 grabs for 34 yards, and a touchdown. The 4 catches for 34, that part is obviously not ideal. It's a little bit troubling. We like the 7 targets, though. If he could see anywhere between 7 and 9 targets a game, we're going to love that, right? And to be fair, that was also with Bryce Young. We're hoping it's going to be a lot better with Andy Dalton, and from what we have seen thus far, I think it will be much better with Andy Dalton as well. But anywhere between 7 to 9 targets would be great for Xavier Legette. And again, if he can get anywhere between, 5 to 7 receptions, per game, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. So let's see if we can get that there. But again, the optimal role for Legette, I don't know if that's what we got right now in Carolina. But we mentioned Jalen Coker briefly here. Look, he's definitely in the conversation. Okay. And we said deep sleeper. I mean, he might have just he graduated from the danger zone into just regular sleeper status now, right? 6 targets, 4 grabs, 78 yards, and a touchdown last game out. He and Thielen have some redundancy. I mean, shoot, him and Legette got some redundancy too, if we're being quite honest. I mean, Legette and Jalen Coker should be playing similar roles, right? Big boy slot guys that can kick it into the flanker. If you give them a little space, they can beat you down the field a little bit, right? Both of these guys should be playing that role. And as a matter of fact, Adam Thielen probably plays that role the best too. I mean, Thielen to me is this team's best slot receiver, right? Jalen Coker, we talked about Jalen Coker before. I made that comp of Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers was a great flanker slot player, like 50-50 outside inside, but certainly not on the line. Just doesn't have that burst to kind of get open, right? And so now that's why I think Xavier Legette plays the X, Coker plays the flanker, and then Adam Thielen plays, flanker slot. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. But Jalen Coker, I think absolutely, if he's still around on the waiver wire, which I would imagine he is. In most leagues, I think he'll still be around. He's definitely worth an ad. I talked about him on the waiver wire, podcast yesterday. But again, if he's available, and I would imagine he's still going to be widely available. If he is available, I think he should absolutely be on the end of your bench for sure. By the way, I cannot believe Xavier Legette is available in so many leagues. Like, what are we doing out here? What are we doing out here? Like, that's a good player. Come on, man. Like, how is he available right now? He's only rostered in 15% of Yahoo leagues. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Anyways, all right, we move on. We got to cover a lot of ground here, okay? Anthony Richardson was benched for Joe Flacco. And before I get into the fantasy aspect of it, can I rant and rave for just a second here? Like, I don't understand how people are viewing this as a bad thing. How? It's like, oh, you're going to kill his confidence. You're going to kill this kid's confidence. No, you're not. And if his ego is that fragile, if his confidence is that fragile, he was never going to make it anyways, man. He was never going to make it. You know what kills your confidence? Having a season like Bryce Young had last season. That's going to kill your confidence. I mean, shoot. You can't go out there and put up historically bad numbers week in and week out like Anthony Richardson is doing right now. You're telling me this kid can't learn from a 17-year Super Bowl winning veteran in Joe Flacco? Stop it. Stop it. The ceiling is immense for Anthony Richardson because of the tools. He's got the tools. He doesn't have the experience. And I know what you're saying to yourself. Well, you can't get experience unless you get experience. And you only get experience by playing games. See, that part of it is wrong. That part of it is absolutely wrong. That is assuming that the quarterback position only requires on-field experience, which it does not. Listen to any high-level quarterback. They talk about the preparation going into games, how important that is. And that's the part that he's not used to right now. He's not used to the game speed. I mean, shoot, the guy was injured last year. Last year was an injury redshirt for him. Let him play behind Joe Flacco, have him ask a bunch of questions, develop him behind the scenes so that he can get some of these horrendous throws. He can get that out of his game. Some of these horrendous reads that he's making, get that out of his game. Add a little bit of touch to his throwing motion. Sure, you can. Those are things you can work on away from the football field. Killing his confidence? My God. Again, what an absolutely faulty assumption that is, especially having seen what happens to other young quarterbacks that get absolutely drilled and crushed year in and year out. Bryce Young is ruined because Carolina didn't sit him down. That sucks. That sucks for him. And we just got done with Bryce Young, and they're saying do that again with Anthony Richardson. Y'all must be sick. Y'all must be sick. Why would you want to put Anthony Richardson through that again? That don't make any sense, man. And by the way, read the room. Look at his teammates' body language. They're sick of the wild, errant throws. You know what I mean? I saw some guy put together a tape, and somehow, some way, this is Michael Pittman's fault. What? What? How is this Michael Pittman's fault? Dude, you have to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me. I mean, it's unbelievable. The cut-ups that I am seeing online of, oh, Michael Pittman this and Michael... Stop it, dude. That is absolutely asinine. That's insane. What? That is unbelievable. Unbelievable that you would cape up so hard. You want to die on this hill that Anthony Richardson is secretly good, but he's getting killed by Michael Pittman of all players. Dude, what? Come on, man. Unreal. Unreal. And by the way, just do with Anthony Richardson what what you've done with other great quarterbacks. Steve Young, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick freaking Mahomes. They all sat at some length. I think Patrick Mahomes sat, 12 games? You know, again, it wasn't like you're 6 and he's in there. Nah, almost an entire season. Patrick Mahomes. You think their confidence was crushed? Come on, dude. And it's like, oh yeah, you can only get experience by playing in the games. Really? Go talk to Steve Young, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. That's really the case? That's your argument? If that's your argument, you haven't watched enough football. If that's your argument, you don't know about the history of the game. I'm so confused, bro. Anyways, this is a fantasy football podcast. I'll get to the fantasy side of it. All right. Oh my goodness. Anyways, look, Pittman, obviously with Flacco in there, is going to see a huge boost. Josh Downs is going to see a huge boost. Alec Pierce will remain relatively the same, but he's going to get a couple opportunities down the field as well. I think Pittman in particular is just, he was dying. He was withering away and dying with Anthony Richardson. He knew it. Everyone else knew it, except the guys who were making the Pittman cut-ups knew it. Okay, literally everyone, okay, except the hardest of hardcore Anthony Richardson defenders. Unreal, these cut-ups that I'm seeing online. It's insane. But yes, Pittman, I think, will see a gigantic boost with Joe Flacco. Look, Joe Flacco, I think, obviously worth a waiver wire pickup too. He's really, really interesting. And if we're being totally fair here, let's be real. He actually has a nicer schedule, I think, than Jameis Winston if we're talking about, veteran streaming options here, right? In week number 8, he's taken on Houston, which it's an up and down unit. Pretty tough, I think, overall. But Flacco, I think with the weapons that he has at his disposal, can put up a pretty good game. Jameis is looking at, the Chargers. That's a straight up tough matchup. In the next week, Flacco's got Minneapolis. Minneapolis? Oh my gosh. Minnesota. What am I doing? It's the Minnesota Vikings. They're in week number 9. Then it's Buffalo and the Jets, and that's tough. And Detroit has been, I think they're beatable, but statistically they've been tough. Listen, Flacco is going to be entering the streaming conversation, but against tougher matchups, I think you can easily sit him down. I don't care how big of a number he puts the week prior. In tougher matchups, I'm easily putting Joe Flacco on my bench because I just don't think he's got that oomph anymore, if that makes any sense. So there you go, man. That's it. Oh, no, excuse me. We got one more storyline. Shoot, Stephon Diggs, torn ACL, out for the season. Okay, so now Xavier Hutchinson, I'm sure, will be added in a lot of competitive leagues, and that's fine. I have no problem with it. But let me just say this. In the 6 games where Hutchinson has played more than 50% of the snaps, it has not been good. It has not been good. He's never had more than 2 catches, and he's never had more than 31 yards, ever. So while I think that Hutchinson will get in there and play because the team has made it abundantly clear that Hutchinson will play, how many targets will he see? How much usage will he see? I'm not that sure, and I'm not that confident. Now, that being said, Stroud is a high-quality quarterback. And the old adage of, hey, man, somebody's got to catch that football. That's true. That is definitely true. I'm sure these games, and this is definitely true too. In the 6 games where he did play 50% or more of the snap share, either Nico Collins or Tank Dell was in that lineup. And Tank Dell will still continue to be there. I'm assuming Tank Dell will see 10 plus targets, right? He enters into legitimately top 12 wide receiver category, Tank Dell, just because of volume share. But Xavier Hutchinson is interesting. That being said, I just feel as if Houston's probably going to run the ball more with Joe Mixon. They're going to throw it to Joe Mixon. They're going to throw it to Dare Ogunbowale, and they're going to get the tight ends more involved as well. I think Dalton Schultz will see a huge boost in terms of his target share there. So look, Xavier Hutchinson, 100%. Add him if you're in a competitive league. If you're in a 14-team league, auto add for sure Xavier Hutchinson. I'm just not playing him quite yet, even though he's got a great matchup against the Indianapolis Colts this week. Hutchinson, sneak peek, Hutchinson will be on my sleeper list this week for sure, 100%. Obviously, they're taking on the Colts. I'm just saying, if he flops, don't be that surprised. He really has not ever put together a great game. Anyways, there you go. I'm over my allotted time because I spent too much time ranting and raving about these horrific Anthony Richardson takes that I am seeing online. And I don't know why I'm mad online for no reason. I'm too old to be mad online, bro. Like, what am I doing? Why am I riled up over Anthony Richardson? It makes no damn sense. It's you know what it is? It's because I just get pissed off when people don't recognize the history of the game. I mean, shoot. We only have 75 plus years of NFL history to lean on, but yeah, sure. Let's just make up stuff. Yeah, 100%. Let's just do that. All right, great. Anyways, whatever. It's all good, man. I got to go. And again, I apologize for the show running just a little bit long, but anyways, I will catch you guys tomorrow, where tomorrow for sure we're hitting sleepers, baby. Until then, we'll see you. But remember, it's never too late to chase your dreams. Peace.